take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Religion is demon worship. If you follow a religion, you need to listen. Physical world is shaped by the mental world. This object was a thought in the mind before it was physical. All creation begins as a thought, then imagination, then energy, then physical reality. Thoughts shape the astral plane, same dimension you use when you imagine something and when you go to sleep. This is where spirits are. You have a personal mind and a collective mind of the whole world combined. And we all agree on a certain thought. This manifests as an energy in the imaginative plane. It will literally create a demonic consciousness because the collective consciousness is vibrating very low and we think negative thoughts. If you believe in Christianity, the collective thoughts of Jesus and the negative emotional energy we give him when we pray manifests as a whole collective being in the astral plane. You are worshipping a false god, deity created by the collective consciousness. True God is your soul, because your soul is connected to the source consciousness of the universe. The correct way to worship God is by aligning your mind and heart with higher consciousness and higher principles, and purifying yourself.
So you understand? So this is Queen Elizabeth bloodline. This is where it become more. It starts because they start to mix the genes. They start to mix with the Slavs, the Slavics, the Slovakians. Then the nobility bloodlines start to be mixed because most of them so-called swarthy people from all over Europe, they was going to different areas. So from conquering different areas, so they start to settle in different areas. And from different areas, they start mixing their blood. They start having kids with Slavics. They start having kids with Slovakians. They start having kids with a bunch of other groups. And these children, they're about to inherit the throne. These are the children they call the bastard children. That means the outside kids from outside outposts. Game of Thrones show you this shit perfectly. I explained this countless of times. All of these houses in Game of Thrones, this is pretty much all the conquering areas from these so-called Moors, or from these so-called, the extension of the empires of the, Roman Empire extension. So they was expanding their territory. So by doing that, they start having kids with them. And these children inherit the power. That's how it is. It was never, oh, this is fuck you, this kid.
like the actual truth is further than any fiction you could fabricate in your mind. And then that's why when they put it right in front of you, you won't even know it's there.
Be very careful about how we interpret what we read, especially the Bible. And I'll tell you why. When I research these secret societies, and I research the Bible, and by the way, I'm a Christian, so if you're a Christian, don't think I'm knocking your religion. I'm not. I'm just telling you what I found. I have found that at the very heart and core of all these secret societies lurks the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is the ancient Jewish mysticism. It is a method of encoding information through a system of mathematics and numbers. It is some of the most ancient knowledge that man has ever possessed and has been kept secret and given only to those who have proven themselves worthy through the process of initiation. Nobody knows where it comes from. I can tell you this, it was there long before the Jews came along. The Jews just took it and preserved it, and they passed it down, and it's used by everybody. Because it's at the heart and core of the secret knowledge, the metaphysics, the real science that none of us know anything about. These people that belong to the secret societies never dared to write down in any language what they knew, what it was that they were guarding, because then someone could steal it, and then the secret would be out. So they devised secret systems of encoding the secrets of the ages, the knowledge, the hidden knowledge, the occult. Now, occult doesn't mean evil. It doesn't mean the devil. It doesn't mean Satan. Occult means hidden. It means hidden. That's all it means. So they took this knowledge and they made it occult through a system of encoding, encryption, one of which is mathematics, numbers. Another is architecture. Everybody wonder, why do they have a fraternal organization called the Freemasons? Aren't those the guys that build walls? You bet they do. But every wall they build contains the secrets that have been kept and maintained throughout the ages, and it's encoded in the architecture and in the measurements of the buildings and in the mathematical formulas used to derive the geometry, the shape, the length and breadth and height of rooms, all encoded there.
During the entirety of the time I interacted with dark occultists, they referred to the police and military only according to these two terms. They called them our dogs and our pets. Nothing else, no other term was ever used. I never heard them say the word police, ever. Ever. They called them our dogs. And for a long time, I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. It was like, I'm like, what are these people talking about, our dogs? What dogs? And then I finally made the connection. Whoa, they're talking about the police. They call the police their dogs. And it's not like, yo dog, you know, you're my boy. It's not street lingo. They're calling them animals that are easily made into obeying their commands because they break their will. And they symbolize this by giving them dog tags in the military. This is a perfect representation of how dark occultists see the police. If I drew that, it could not have been any more perfectly represented. I don't know who did it, but whoever drew that knows exactly how dark occultists think about cops. Exactly. Okay? Because they are the puppet masters and these people are their puppets. The military and the police are in this position. And their ego is so strong and their free will is so destroyed that they look at it as a badge of honor to be in this position. As a badge of honor. Now, when you're doing something like that in dark occultism, you know you really have something strong going. Okay? Not only that, these people who the police attack dogs and military attack dogs are oppressing, look at that position as being some kind of a badge of honor and think it's honorable and virtuous. You're members of a cult. Police and military and those who are supporting them, you are cult members. It doesn't matter whether you don't believe it. It doesn't matter whether you don't think it's true. It doesn't matter whether you can't accept that because your ego is in the way. These are the people who own you. And they think they're legitimate in that ownership. I attended a ritual on Walpurgisnacht, 1997, in Whitehall, Maryland, just south of the Pennsylvania border. And it was in what you might call a mansion or a McMansion, you know, not a high-end mansion, but, you know, very, very rich neighborhood.
The Rothschilds destroyed Tartaria. Please, let me explain. Their timeline is exactly the same as the reset. Take a look at this. If you look at the Rothschilds' timeline, it's the same as the Great Reset in 1776. Look at this, guys. It's uncanny. When the Rothschilds were becoming established, it's exactly the same time as when Tartaria was on their downfall and the reset was happening. Has anyone ever looked at this? It's obvious, guys. Again, in 1776, it's the same timeline as the Rothschilds' timeline. When they were coming into power, it was the same time as the Great Reset, guys, and the mud floods. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Also, this is the Rothschilds' humble abode. Look at the etheric technology on the top. I think they were a Tartarian family, and they took over, and they knew exactly what was happening, so they made a new world order. Also, the Rothschilds are connected to the Oddfellows. The Oddfellows were in charge of all the orphanages through the reset, and the Cabbage Patch Kids. Bit weird, yeah? Also, the Rothschilds funded all the wars, and the wars were only there to destroy all of the old world architecture, guys. Ain't it really adding up now? Understand? And last but not least, the Rothschilds loaned £400,000 back in 1850s. Today, that would be 4.7 billion to the Catholic Church. Come on, guys. They took it from old world to new world, can't you see? And they also destroyed all of the world fairs. Wake up, guys.
Alright, first let's just get into Tartary, Grand Tartary. As you can see, Grand Tartar is basically right here on the map, or was on the map until they decided to remove it. What we don't know, or what you don't know, is all the movies you see and everything that goes on in this realm is basically built to either cover up this great empire or mock this great empire. And I'm going to show you something very, very peculiar here, and a lot of you are going to be very interested in this. Stay tuned. Take a look at these buildings right here. Look at how they're constructed. Look at how the city's constructed. This is how Tartarian cities looked before the mud flood, before they were destroyed. These are the castles that Tartarians built. And you know they built them because these structures were built in 1700, so to say, because that's just when they were discovered, not when they were built. Remember that. When you look at these structures that I show you, and you look and they say, oh, it was founded in 1800 or built in 1750, that's when they found it. It was there way before that. And these structures go further into the ground. Most of the time, they look like this. We don't know because we'll dig up to here, have this be the ground floor, and think this is the building. Meanwhile, there's a whole structure underneath. That's why every time they look and inspect these Tartarian structures, they find more and more building beneath. And what they like to tell you is, oh, we found a bunker beneath here. Oh, there's a bunker. Or they lie and say, yeah, a bunker was constructed underneath there. A very intricate bunker, when they didn't build a bunker underneath there. It was already there. Like the bunker in the Brooklyn Bridge that they discovered during the 2004 inspection. If you discovered it, that means you didn't know it was there because you didn't build the Brooklyn Bridge, because it was already there. I also found it very peculiar how in some movies they depict the Tartarian Empire or mock the Tartarian Empire without actually saying they're mocking the Tartarian Empire. Like here, you can see the coat of arms here in the back. Take a look. Now take a look. Here again. Now take a look right there on the banner. We can't say that that does not resemble this coat of arms, which is the coat of arms, the flag, and the symbol of the great Tartarian Empire. Now let's go a little further, because I was looking up something and then somebody said something and I said, you know what? Let me go see if he's onto something. Somebody actually said, Star Wars is an old world documentary. Even George Lucas himself said the movie was a documentary with the Republic representing Tartarian Empire. It's right in our face. Just look at all the Tartarian architecture. So let's look. These are the buildings from Star Wars that nobody thought to look at until now. Oh, it's gonna get better because I went a little bit deeper. More buildings from Star Wars. They look very Tartarian to me. But we gonna go deeper. Look at that archway right there. That looked very, 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 very Tartarian. But I thought to myself, if Tartary represents the Republic, then that means that the Queen of the Republic should represent Tartary, right? Well, what do we have here? Queen Jinapil was the last queen of Mongolia. She was executed in May 1938, shot by Russian troops as part of the Stalinist repressions in Mongolia. The Star Wars character, Queen Amidala, took inspiration from her. Look at her. Why would she need to be executed? Unless she was the last heir of a Tartarian empire. And George Lucas said the Republic represented the Tartarian Empire. I'm sorry, do we see a resemblance here? This is a Tartarian princess. Queen of the Republic. Are y'all seeing what I'm seeing? Because I don't know about you, but that headdress looks awfully familiar on all three of them. So yeah, I think Star Wars is onto something.
New York City, very interesting place, where they supposedly threw this massive building together in a single year, the Empire State Building. From 1930 to 1931, a 102-story high, 1,250-foot tall skyscraper that was the tallest building in the world until 1970. 12 months or less. We are told this was done. Remember, they have to work through winters. And this story gets extremely interesting and begins to show us how they do this and how these buildings are quickly thrown into the narrative where people didn't even have a chance to verify what was even really going on in the early 1900s, where they're telling us that the Waldorf Astoria was constructed in 1893, and then they demolish it in 1929, making way for the construction of the Empire State Building. So immediately, alarms should be going off in all of our minds. This narrative has just started, and we have already found something massive, where they were knocking down Renaissance Revival style hotels after just 36 years. Now, a side note, I just want to add in my personal opinion at this point, where you can believe whatever you like, but I believe that these buildings, as we've seen in Chicago, were actually constructed somewhere else in New York City, and they were demolished in 1929, but not to be replaced by the Empire State Building. I believe that the Empire State Building was always here. And these construction photos are ridiculous, where they are clearly edited, and they even admit that some of these photos were basically to trick the public when they say that this famous photo of the guys sitting on the beam was arranged as a publicity stunt, all a part of a campaign promoting the skyscraper. Now, this is for the Rockefeller Center, but only 1 year after the Empire State Building. So they were in the business of doctoring photos during this time period, manipulating the public. So this is not a shocking accusation at this point, since we have seen this so many times, especially when the identity of the actual photographer remains unknown. They have a lie on the wall. What else can we find? Remember, they have to get all the men. They need to get everything ready. And then, after all that's done, knock out the tallest building in the world. All completed in 1931. When they start putting this building in the movies, like King Kong, and showing the world that this is the brand new building, where we all know how the industry works at this point. We all know how it goes. We know that it promotes the narrative that it wants to, and it promotes the people that are in the group, and that's fine. They can do that. But it is our job to understand what is going on, and what has been going on for a very long time, where it says, "It is the first of many iconic roles the building will play on the silver screen, and among its most important pop culture moments, in my opinion. This is an old world building that they are just throwing right into our timeline, right during the Great Depression, and pretending like it was never there before. This is a magic trick, and I bet you they were laughing the entire time."
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.